My first guest, I'm always excited to talk to Penny Marie, the founder of Let Kids Be Kids, recently was in Washington, D.C., with a team of 14 women and a man from around the world to meet with senators and congressmen and women. The team shared vital information to help those representatives get to the root of why our kids are being sexualised. The current day comprehensive sexuality education can be traced back to a man named Alfred Kinsey, the father of the sexual revolution. He was a professor at Indiana University and came to be the foundation of the field of human sexuality and the training of the sexologists that we have around the world today. Now, the media portrayed him as a happily married man with children, but his own bibliographers admitted he was a homosexual sadomasochist pedophile who believed in womb to tomb, that anyone should be able to have sex. He conducted his sex studies in the 30s and 40s. There is now a push from multiple groups and organisations globally calling for a US federal investigation into Alfred Kinsey. They are lobbying Congress for Bill HR 2749 to determine if Kinsey's sexual behaviour and the human male-female are the results of any fraud or criminal wrongdoing. It was presented in 1995. Penny Marie, founder from Let Kids Be Kids, joins me now. Penny, good afternoon.
Hey, it's so good to be here. Thank you, Leah. That was a great summary.
Well, every time I talk to you, it's like a real eye-opener. It really is. And let's start with how long in Washington, and you went with who? Who was the groups? You don't have to name them all. But
Great.
You know
So I was there for 12 days. We had groups coming from different countries that were there for different parts of that time. But me and one of the other ladies from Australia were there for the whole 12 days. We were first and last out. And so we had people from groups like Let Kids Be Kids in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the United States, a couple of groups, and as well as England, Wales, and Ireland. So we are an international task force who are and these people have all been doing this for way longer than me. So I'm playing catch up a little bit. But, you know, me, I dive into the research, and it's all about connecting, because the more that we look at things, the more that we know that it's not just happening to us and our children. And so everybody that, you know, I spent 12 days with people, and we've all come to the same conclusions based on all of the different threads that we've pulled together. So it was quite a humbling experience, and we're all just grassroots, unfunded, needing funding, because this is important work.
And what was the goal?
So we were there to do a couple of different things. And so the first part, which is what you talked about, which is about Alfred Kinsey, was we took a day where we walked around Congress and some senators' offices. Now, it was such an eye-opener for me as a little Kiwi to just head over there and think that you can even do that. And some of them we had appointments with, and some we just turned up, but we're going to put some videos out showing. But we literally walked the halls of Congress. Now, that's not the White House. That is the buildings around Capitol Hill. So we were ending up walking around in bare feet because all our feet got sore. But so we walked in, and we presented parcels of information. So included DVDs, documents pertaining to all the research on Kinsey, USB sticks. And so we just went in and spoke to the staff members of Congress. We didn't speak to the leaders themselves. And we went to the ones that were the Republican senators and Congress people who are already speaking out about this and on the same page. And so we informed them some more. They were really great people. They took notes. They were really grateful for the information. And what we're looking for is a Congress person to lead it, and then the other Congress people to actively support it. So, but the fact that we went in representing multiple nations, we were told that they haven't seen anything like that before. And so we were all able to chip in with our own bits and say, basically, we think that the root of this has come from America. It's spread out to comprehensive sexuality throughout the world. And if we can get the tap root, that will save the children of the world. So it's quite impactful.
Can you, I mean, I gave a little bit about Kinsey. Can you talk a little bit more about him in this bill, HR 2749?
Yeah, so he, back in the 40s, I think it was, he was a researcher and he wrote a couple of books. One was called Sexual Behavior of the Human Male and then Sexual Behavior of the Human Female. There's one particular table in that book that is highly questionable, which explains it. And we've got some videos up on our YouTube channel and we explain it. But his research included noting down how many times children from age 6 months orgasmed in a 24-hour period.
Oh my God.
So
What?
to do that, up to 14-year-olds, so to do that, then clearly he was sexually abusing and sodomizing these babies and children and torturing them. And so that's without getting into too graphic a detail, the basis of his research, and who they used to do that research was convicted pedophiles and also prostitutes. So they weren't doing research based on normal everyday people who would be raising healthy children. So his science, his evidence became the basis of the sexual revolution. Hugh Hefner became his pamphleteer, so it fed into the porn industry. And then it changed the law. And you have to go and watch the videos because I'm not quite the expert yet on it. But the law changed based on his research, and so that's what makes it more lenient on pedophiles and groomers. And also, it impacted into trans sexual healthcare and then the comprehensive sexuality education. Now, the Kinsey Institute, which he formed, was also a consultative body to the United Nations. So that's where we get our comprehensive sexuality education from. So his theory was that there is no age for consent required because children are sexual from birth. So that's the crux of his theory, is we're sexual beings from birth. And so when I do my work and you're coming up against teachers who honestly believe what they're teaching, which is we have to teach our 10-year-olds about how to masturbate, it actually all comes back to the flawed research that he did, and he was sexually abusing children.
I don't even know how as was a man like that able to not, why was he not arrested? How could he do that?
Well, he was funded through, and you listened to the videos that I put out that some of the ladies were speaking about. So he was funded through the Rockefeller Foundation.
Yeah.
And so those of us who go right down the I'm not even going to call it a conspiracy rabbit hole, is the evidence that the people with this intention were well funded and well supported. So that's why he's done it. And of course, they put a bill through. They tried to put a bill through Congress in America in 1995, which was the HR 274 now, and it didn't make it through. And what that bill was, well, so the bill was called to determine if Alfred Kinsey's sexual behavior in the human male and sexual behavior in the human female are the result of any fraud or criminal wrongdoing. So what it was calling for was an investigation into his research, because that's the crux of it. Because if we can get them to agree that there was fraud and criminal wrongdoing, i.e. sexual abuse, sodomizing children, then really that's the thread that can unpick all of the things that we're fighting. It's pretty big.
Pretty big. It is. As I said, every time I talk to you, it's an eye opener. So the Kinsey Institute is still going today. So in theory, well, not in theory, what influence are we still seeing today with the Kinsey Institute?
Yeah, so the Kinsey Institute is still running out of Indiana University. So the lady that is the key lady that we were talking to about this, she's from Indiana. So they've been lobbying at that level. But I've got a graph here that I'll share out that these people who have been doing this research for years have done. And his work has impacted on as well as comprehensive sexuality education, the formation of WPATH, which is what we know about. Obviously, Hugh Hefner, something called CSIS, which is the Sex Information and Educational Council of the US, back from 1964. And then they ended up developing a whole lot of university degrees on human sexuality, all based on his work. So it's a long march through the institutions. It's impacted on things like the Same-Sex Marriage Act and things like that. So it's still going. It's still being funded. And then you look at what Trump is doing with defunding and trying to isolate all of this stuff. So, that's where the people that have been looking at this since 1995 have gone, well, we've kind of got one shot at this with people that are in power now, who are saying the right things, now we can help them with this information because, you know, I mean, Trump's defunded, I think, and closed down parts of Harvard. Well, he needs to look at Indiana University and the Kinsey Institute as well.
When you said you were walking through Congress, through the halls of Congress, what was the feedback you were getting when you spoke with people?